Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to part 21 of our WordPress beginner tutorial series. In this video, we're just going to talk real quick about your website speed, where to check it out, where to check the site, where to check your speed, and take a look at things that are loading, and maybe if your site's getting slowed down, why it's getting slowed down, and how to fix that, and some other odds and ends tools too that I think you'll like. And so the first place I wanted to go to, let's go right into it, is Pingdom. And Pingdom is kind of a cool place to analyze your website and determine what a load requests look like when a browser goes to your site, the things that it loads and how long it's taking to load those things. So we can do that right here by just typing in our site. And I want to use the HTTPS version just to get a look at that. So actually, if we come back here and we just copy it from here and then place it in the URL and test from. You can really select this anywhere you want, but I'm just going to stay in the US and maybe go like San Francisco. And let's just do that. So now this is going to go through and it's going to test to see how long our site takes to load. And it's going to show us a breakdown. And I want to go over that breakdown real quick with you just to give you an idea of how you can kind of look at optimize your load times on your site. Okay, so down here, it looks like it took it about a second and a half, gave us a C grade on our performance. A second and a half is pretty decent, but a C grade I don't really like. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Everything in the improved page performance looks okay, except for it's claiming it's making a lot of external requests. This is to CSS files and things like that, and images is really what it's talking about right here. But everything else looks pretty good, and it gives us an A across those ratings. We don't have any 400 errors, or 404s I mean, telling us that things are it's finding everything, which is good. And then we have content by content type. And as you can see, 66% of the content type and size is images. So this is a very image dependent website. We don't have a lot of text in it, and our images are pretty big. And I'm going to kind of give you an idea of how we can make this a little better and make the load time squeeze down a little more. CSS, we can't really do a lot about unless we're using minimized CSS, and we have plugins that can do that, or we can do that manually ourselves if you know how, but plugins can make this a lot easier. Scripts, we can minimize scripts as well. Font, this is how much text we have on our website. The HTML pages themselves, and then any redirect stuff. So that kind of makes up our total size of our page. And then we have our requests, and as you can see, the most requests are being done to CSS files, followed by scripts, images, and then all the others. The content size by domain. This is telling us what's being requested in domains, and so the external request it's making is actually to the font portion of Google, which is the Google fonts we're using. Remember, we enabled Google fonts and pulled them in using this theme. That's what this stuff is showing, is that Google fonts are making requests. Down here in the load time, this is kind of cool. This is a breakout of the, you can see the top here is the load time in seconds, and when each thing was requested along the timeline. So instead of showing 4 pages, I'm just going to put 50 items in here so we can see everything. Okay, so now you can get an idea of what's taking the longest and the shortest to load on your site, and this is pretty cool. So everything is actually loading fairly quick except for one area down here, which is the site's favicon. And if you noticed, when we talked about favicons before, it's this little icon that appears above your site in the bar, and it changed to a WordPress favicon. It was that HostGator one, and it actually did change. My site just had the old one cached in from when I visited the HTML page, just the parked page, but it changed now to this. And for some reason, it's having a hard time loading that. It's taking quite a long time for that to load in, and so we would probably want to change that or use some kind of plugin to help us speed that up, and that would help quite a bit right there. But everything's actually pretty decent. Its load times are fast, and here you can hone in anything that's taking a long time. So if you have any really big images that are showing a really long bar through here, or something like that, you can figure out why it's doing that, or you can go back to your site and change it out, or compress the image down or something like that, and you can work on your site speed using this tool. And that's one of the first things I wanted to go over, was this tool, because Pingdom's pretty awesome. Now, one thing that I want to cover next in this is this part right here. Your results are going to change based on where you're testing from, and that's because we're on a shared host on a single host platform. We're not in a cloud-based server. On a cloud-based server, it would request from the closest server to wherever the user's location is. That's how clouds work. And so when we have a cloud-based server, they have lots and lots of server locations where your site gets basically cloned to all over the world. And so if a user comes from San Francisco, it'll look to the closest server to request in your site. But ours isn't doing that. We're on a specific server in wherever our server is located. I'm going to show you how to figure that out right now too. So we're requesting from San Francisco, but if we requested from Frankfurt, for example, it would take a lot longer because it's having to travel to wherever our site location is versus using cloud hosting. So one tool you can use for this is actually on the MX Toolbox, and it's a pretty cool DNS lookup is what you want to put into Google, just MX Toolbox DNS lookup, and you'll get to this page. And you want to take your site and you want to put it in the DNS lookup, and you want to just click lookup. And it's going to give you your site's IP address. And this is where your site's physical IP of the server is. And we're going to want to copy this and then go to the iplocation.net website and paste it in this top bar and look it up. And it's going to give us the location, which I already did it. I'm just showing you an example of putting it in there. So it's going to show you down here the location of your server, and it uses 3 different geolocation platforms to try to do it. The bottom 2 or the real-time ones are better. So one of them thinks it's Provo, 2 of them think it's Texas. I'm more inclined to believe that our server is located in Texas. So we actually have a physical server our website's sitting on in Houston, Texas. So when it's requesting it from Pingdom, from San Francisco, it doesn't have to travel very far to get to it. But if it has to come from London, that's quite a bit further, right? It has to travel from London to request the information from Houston, like I said, because we're not using a cloud server. And that's not a big deal because a lot of our traffic, unless you have planned to have a lot of international traffic or global traffic away from where your site server is located, but even then we're kind of splitting hairs, especially if your site's optimized for responsiveness anyway. Another tool, and so that, by the way, that's just how you can kind of quickly look up your site, get your server, and figure it out, and then figure out how far away your test location is, because that's going to have an impact on your performance grade and your load time. So you can only optimize this as much as you can, and really the best place to do that is to look into this performance chart and try to figure out how to bring down certain things. Like images are usually the one that eats this up, and so we're going to do a lot of image optimization. I'm going to show you how to do that. Another cool tool, and I know we can do this inside WordPress. I kind of showed you how to do it in the customizer, but this is kind of a cool tool as well, where you can take your site and you can put it into, this is a responsivetesttool.com. There's actually a few of these out there, and you check your site and it's going to load it in on a desktop with a different, and it's logged in because it's just loading in the site for us, but it's using different sizes. So in this case, we could go for, say, an Apple iPhone 8 Plus, and it's just going to show us on that device what our site would look like. And this will help us out when we're editing our site and trying to figure out how to make sure that it looks good on every device. Which it looks pretty good. This theme looks pretty good by default. It's definitely mobile responsive. And like I said in the early part of the course, mobile's a huge deal nowadays. You really want to make sure that your sites are optimized for mobile as much as possible, because a huge portion of your traffic is going to be mobile. So this is another quick resource for somebody who wants to take a look at what their site looks like on different platforms and servers, or say like a smart TV, maybe like an 8K smart TV. Oh boy, it's too big for my computer to even look at. But let's just go back to a desktop. All right, so that's a pretty good way to look at that. And so that's some good resources for the main one, checking about the speed of your site, looking up the IP of your site to get an idea of your location, to determine how this is affected by it. And that's really what I wanted to talk about in this video, was just kind of getting an idea of looking at the specifics of your site through a speed test and being able to determine what's taking a while. In this case, it's our favicon, so we're going to want to change that. The last thing I want to leave it off with here, though, is in the next video, we're going to get into image optimization. And one of the ways we can do that right off the crack of the bat is through plugins, compression through, like this one here, compress JPEG and PNG images. And this is a pretty good plugin. A lot of people use it and seem to like it. You just make an account, download this plugin, and it starts to help you optimize your images smaller, because images are going to be the main thing that's going to take your site load speed down. So back on our site, I was talking about these images and not really knowing what size. I mean, we know what size they are because we uploaded it. So if we take a look at our media library, we see that it's 293 KB. I like to keep images personally around 150 or less. As little or is better, and they'll load much faster. And in the future, we're going to make sure, we're going to try to do that. And in this case, this image is about double the size of what I usually like, and I don't know about the others. And by the way, when I was telling you I didn't upload all these pictures, that's because these are being uploaded by the curation software that we have. So it's curating all these plugins and it's uploading all these pictures, and we could make it stop that if we want. I just haven't got it in check. I just let that thing continue to sit there and curate dozens and dozens of articles. And I probably should stop it because I don't like it backing up all my pictures like that. Anyway, I think that's really going to wrap us up on 21. I just wanted to go over some really simple resources for getting your site for checking your speed, and then kind of explaining to you how it works on a shared server versus on a cloud server, and how that would affect you and would affect your test. And if you had a cloud server, it would look a little bit different. I have lots of servers, cloud servers and non, and cloud servers are always faster because of the fact that they load the whatever version is closest to that user's location. But other than that, in the next video, we're going to definitely go over image compression. We're going to probably do it two ways. We're going to do it manually through probably a free photo editing software so that everybody can do it versus people who don't have Photoshop, because I have Photoshop and I do it through Photoshop, where you save for web and devices. It's right under the file menu when you click there, and it says save for web and devices, and then you can play around with the settings to bring the quality down and around until you figure out what you want for your site. But I think we can do it through GIMP maybe, and if not GIMP, there's a couple of good online places to do it too, and then we'll probably end up downloading this compressed tiny JPEG and PNG images and give that a spin too, just to show if you want to do it more automatically rather than manually. So as usual, like, subscribe, comment if you need any help on anything, or if you have any thing that you'd like me to talk with you about, and I'll do my best to respond to it as I can. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you guys in part 22.